Well, good morning, and welcome to the Saturday morning radio show.
Saturday Morning CEO and Economan radio show.
And I'm Dewey, and today we have a special guest that works in the financial industry. And take it away, Dennis.
Yeah, he's actually in the insurance industry, and we're going to be talking to Brian here in a little bit. But first, we're going to talk about a couple things. Actually, I have a quick announcement, too. If you live in the Hemet or Menifee area, there is a special drive that's going on for the folks back east that got hit by by Sandy, the superstorm, and they're collecting some blankets, jackets, and children's clothing, and they're going to ship them out there right away. So if you can bring them by, it's 29725 Bradley Road in Menifee, just one block north of Newport Road. Only from 8 till 10 this morning. So if you're listening to the archive of this show, it's done. But if you can get them over there before 10 o'clock, they're going to ship them over there and help them out. So are you good?
No, I think my mic is a little bit off this morning.
I can hear you just fine, so I think it's your headphones. Are you?
No, I'm plugged in.
How about now?
Oh, that's a little. Oh, whoa. Now I'm deaf. Turn that down a little bit.
All right, we're good. All right, well, let's start off. Good morning, and we want to talk to you a little bit about starting a business. So we cover topics here of the economy, and we talk to you also about how to grow your business, how to start a business, and today we're going to talk about our first topic is starting a business. And some of you have maybe heard of the Small Business Administration. It's a government agency that's there to help you to get started. And they have loans available. They'll help you maybe with some business plans and all that good stuff. So I thought I'd go through the list this morning of some of the things that they say you need to do to start a business, the 10 things you need to do. In fact, there's 11 because I noticed they don't have getting a proper insurance for your business on it. And we have a guest here that's doing that today, so we'll add that as item number 1. Number 2 then is to write a business plan. And a couple topics for you on that is a business plan is going to be a little bit different depending on what kind of funding you're trying to get. If you have your own funding, then the business plan is going to be geared more towards just setting of your goals and setting tasks that will help you to get to those goals. But if you're needing funding from a bank, for instance, your business plan is going to look a little different than if you're trying to get money from investors who are going to become shareholders or a personal loan from somebody. So a business plan is not the same for everyone. So you want to talk to some kind of advisor that will help you with that process to write the plan. The other is to get business assistance and training. So if you are wanting to start a sandwich shop, let's say, then you need to kind of find out everything you need to know to do the sandwich shop. I use sandwich shop a lot, don't I? I think my son wants to open a sandwich shop when he grows up.
Yeah, I think that might be a function of you and your marathon and working out these days. I think you have food on the brain.
It could be. And if Paul's listening, I do not have a donut here.
No, but he has a Subway sandwich. Oh, not a Subway sandwich, but a sandwich.
There you go. I'm talking about him, that's for sure. I'm gaining weight just thinking about food. So anyway, get some training and advice about your business. If it's the first time you've ever had a business, then you need to know how to keep your receipts. Like, for instance, did you know that if you go out to lunch with a client, Dewey, that if you want to write off that lunch, that you need to write at least the first names of the two people that you had, yourself and the person you had lunch with, and just some comment about it was a sales meeting or a planning meeting or something like that. You write that on the back of the receipt. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Hey, you know that now.
So I think after today's show, I'm going to take out to breakfast.
Hey, uh-oh.
Now, you said it has to be 2 or more, correct?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to take yourself out on a business luncheon. But if you're away on a trip for business, then you can write it off.
What if you just decided to talk about business to the waiter or waitresses? Does that count?
I think you have to buy them at least a soda.
Well, how about just a tip? Well, that was a good tip, Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, very good tip. Well, you'll need to talk to your tax advisor on that, but definitely get some advice and training. A lot of people. There's a great book out there that I'll recommend that you should buy. It is called the E-Myth Revisited. E-Myth, M-Y-T-H, Revisited, and it talks about how to start and run a business and make it successful. So that's one thing that will help you if you've never had a business before. It uses the yeah, you're going to give me a hard time again, but it uses the example of a pie shop, another food related business.
See, I rest my case. You definitely have food on the brain.
I think so. So the author, Michael Gerber, talks. There's baby food there. There's food and everything, isn't there today? I must be hungry.
Keep going. You're doing promos for Gerber.
I am. So we'll try to bottle this up now. But seriously, folks, the tips that you need to learn to run a business. The lady who runs the pie shop in the book knows how to make pies, and she does a great job with it. But she realized after she opened her pie shop that she needed to learn how to run the business too, how to keep the books, how to keep track of her marketing, find out where her customers are actually coming from. So getting business training and advice from others is important. And don't just ask Uncle Ernie, who watched starting a business videos on TV. You want to talk to two people that have actually done it and get some great advice. The others to choose a business location is on their list, which you can skip that one if you're doing an online business. A lot more e-commerce going on out there in the world. But if you are trying to choose a location, you don't want to be where someone can't see you, can't find you. So that's important. How are you going to finance your business? You need to figure that out ahead of time. And there's a rule of thumb that business people follow, and it is true, I would say at least 90% of the time, is that whatever you plan in your business plan for expenses to get your business started, remember that it will always cost twice as much and take twice as long. So that's a good number to fit. And if you plan that into your plan, it's 4 times.
That's optimistic.
Yeah, that's the way it works. So
that's the way it should be.
Exactly.
You don't go into business with a plan to fail. You go into a business for a plan to succeed.
Exactly. And you've got to overcome all the obstacles, and that's how you grow. And so figuring out how to finance your business, make sure you've got some money there to run it once you've actually opened it. And determine the legal structure of your business. And we actually did a show on that. If you want to look at our archives on SaturdayMorningRadio.com, then you'll be able to listen to that show on how to choose a structure. By the way, while we're talking about it, if you wanted to call in and ask us a question this morning, you can do that. Our call-in line, Dewey always asks me, and I don't have it handy,
is 747-777-6263. That's our live call-in line.
Yep, you can give us a call, or you can send us an email if you're afraid of talking on the radio like we are. It is question@SaturdayMorningRadio.com. Or you can Skype us. I guess we got to open the Skype thing.
Hey, you're pretty
here.
good reading the cue cards.
Yeah, Skype us at Saturday Morning Radio is our, what do you call it, a handle or something on Skype? I don't know what that's called. Our Skyper handle or thing.
Skyper's not a word.
It's not?
I guess it is now.
I make it one. So I'll open the Skype thing up. How's that?
So give us a call at 747-777-6263 and call in and ask Dennis a food question.
Yeah, a business question. Thank you very much for that. Okay, and then also register your business name. So if you're going to set up a corporation, you have to do that with the state, the Secretary of State here in California. If you are going to set up a fictitious business name, then you do that through the county. But you need to get your name set up. You need to get a tax identification number, a TIN. And you can do that online too through the IRS's website. You can actually do it right online, and they've updated their system over the last couple of years. And it used to be that you had to wait in the mail to get it, but now you can actually sign up online, and it'll just take you right to the screen with boom. Here's your number. So you can set that up in just a few minutes. You need to register for state and local taxes, especially if you're selling something then you need to register with the Franchise Tax Board. Make sure you have all your permits to sell what you want to sell, and obtain any licenses or permits that you have. In your city, especially if you have a location, then you want to make sure that you've got your licenses in line through the city. So that's a very important step. And understanding what you have, if you're going to employ anybody, even yourself. So this is something that you need to determine if you're running your own business. Are you the owner, or are you the employee, an employee of your own business? And you can be both, by the way. But there's some benefits to being an employee of your own business that you wouldn't get if you're the owner. So you want to try to determine that in your structure when you set things up. And if you are going to hire other people, then you need to know what all the rules are with hiring and human resources, and what kind of questions you can ask in an interview. And again, we're going back to, I think it was item number 3, to get some kind of advice and training from someone else if you're trying to get your business started. So let's see here. What about being self-employed? Some of the tips that they give you here are the fact that you can take some online courses, and there are quite a few out there right now. In fact, I educate myself a lot. Yeah, I've got all those college degree things, but I've probably learned a lot more on YouTube, watching people telling me how to do things when I have a specific question. So, using the sources that are available to us electronically are a huge, huge help as you get your business started. So those are some of the tips that I've got to get you started. And I do have also on tax information. You want to know ahead of time before you set up your structure how you're going to be taxed. For instance, there's differences between what's called an S corp and a C corp. C corporation. I won't bore you. You can go to sleep, during this part if I'm not too exciting. But a C corp.
Too late. I've already slept.
You already sleep. Here, eat my donut.
See, evidence to support my claim. You are eating a donut.
Good thing we're not on TV. They can't see. They can't see. So a C corp actually gets taxed as a corporation, and then if you're an employee of that corporation, then you get taxed individually too. So the S corp was created to not double tax you. So that's just one tip. There's a lot of other tips related to the LLC and sole proprietorships and partnerships and all that good stuff. But listen to the archive show on that one. But those are some of the key things. Dewey, do you have any questions for me in regards to if you wanted to start a business, what would you wonder about?
Well, I think one of the things to starting a business would be you really have to be a multitasker. You not only have to understand the business, but be hands-on in the accounting, the cash flow, management. So the question I have for you is, what would be the best approach for somebody who is starting a business regarding how to manage it, A, and B, how to manage the cash flow? For example, when you start a business, you're really worried about the customer, the base, and taking care of the market. And the last thing you're going to do is be really conscientious about the receipts and the bookkeeping end of it. So right. When you start out, do you get a bookkeeper? Do you outsource that? Do you do the best you can with the resources you have? So if you can give our listeners today some advice
sure.
Regarding those two issues, I think that'd be valuable.
Okay, there's some great advice. Number one is that you should actually write out, and my clients that I do consulting with, I have them actually write out job descriptions for the jobs that they're doing, even if they're the only person running their business, is they need to identify what it is that they are doing as the accountant and as the marketing person and as the CEO of their company. So if they write out those job descriptions, what the duties are, then it makes it easier when they want to decide to maybe farm out some of that. For instance, I have someone that does a little bit of bookkeeping for me through one of our shows. We talked about Elance and Odesk and some other sites where you can farm out your work. She is in Guyana, and so I can look at that job description and say, okay, these particular tasks I want to farm out to somebody, and I can just farm those out because they're written down, and I understand that that's part of the job description. So it's important for you to understand what you're doing while you're running your business, what role you're playing, so that as it grows and you need to hire people, you're not just doing it willy-nilly and having somebody come in and try to give them some tasks to do. You actually have them all laid out and ready to go. In fact, Michael Gerber in his book talks about the role of the technician, where you're actually doing the work of the business, and the role of being the owner, where you kind of can step back and oversee your business in a different way. So does that answer your question for you?
Yes. I don't think there's ever been a question that you have not been able to answer.
Good.
So speaking like an economist, we're talking about the division of labor and the specialization of labor by laying down the job descriptions.
Exactly. And then in the book, we've got about 1 minute, too, before we go to break, but the other step that is important for you to take is to write down some of the policies of your company and procedures that you do. That's another important step. So not only the job duties, but what's the procedure for closing up shop at the end of the night? What's the procedure for opening up in the middle of the day? How do you talk to a customer? All of those are, if they're written out, you can always change them, but if they're written out, it makes your business a lot more organized, and you can become more successful. I work with some businesses that are wanting to cross the chasm between being a $1 million a year company to becoming a $5 million a year company, and you cannot do it unless you've got systems laid out in place and policies and procedures written. So if you start that early in your business, then as you get to those bigger growth stages, you'll be a lot more prepared.
Well, it sounds like Management 101, planning, budgeting, coordinating, and having some sort of qualitative control system in place.
Absolutely, but you got to take a break now and then and enjoy some fun, too, in life.
Oh, I thought.
And speaking of a break, why don't we
have a food break?
There we go.
Cinderella's dream comes true because the glass slipper fits.
It fits!
In our world, the right fit can be just as important, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose a car seat that's the right fit for your child's age and size to make sure your little pumpkin gets there safely every time.
Hop in, dear. Thank you.
For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. This message has been brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Chris, can you put the video game controller down for a second?
I can talk and play. Oh, I'm totally annihilating this punk kid in Nebraska.
I just feel like you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
Well, you still ride your skateboard to work, there's the comic book collection, the race car bed.
Look, I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I picked up a few savings tips at feedthepig.org. I have control over my financial life now, and that feels pretty grown up.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. For free ideas and easy tips on ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
So, I bet I look like a grown-up to you now.
Well, except for the footy pajamas, I'd have to agree.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Saturday Morning CEO and Economan radio show. Have we got a guest for you? If you're starting your business or growing your business, then we want to make sure that you've got your assets covered. And so we've got the guy to tell you what you need to do. So we want to welcome Brian Allred. So everybody give a cheer for Brian. Welcome, Brian, to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you, Dennis?
Good, thanks. Hey, could you give us some tips on what you think that someone who's getting ready to start a business should think about as far as insurance goes?
Yeah, there's a couple of things you want to take to heart when you're starting your business and specifically shopping for insurance. The first one is that business insurance is classified, in my mind, in two boxes. Number one is inside the box, and inside the box insurance is kind of like the sandwich shop or a donut shop.
Uh-oh. We're on food. Watch out.
Or a barber shop or something like that that's been around for a long time. And out of the shop or out of the box businesses would be like a snake oil salesman.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there aren't too many of those, but if you are into the snake oils and you're trying to start a new business selling that, then you're going to have to describe your business to the insurance companies to help you and help them understand what you're doing.
Okay, that's good. So, an outside-the-box company, like, for instance, I used to run a human tissue bank. So that's probably kind of a little on the outside of the box thing?
Yeah, that's definitely on the outside of the box. You want in that case, it's not that it's uninsurable. It's just that you got to take some time to explain to the insurance company what you're doing and show them that you're really not doing something that's dangerous or is going to put other people at risk.
Right. I remember we had trouble finding a company to insure us, so that took some time. What would you recommend? Should a person go straight to a bunch of different insurance companies, to find out what's going on, or should they have somebody help them? Or
yeah, I recommend contacting a broker that you know, like, and trust, and then you give some time. You give that broker some time to shop your business to the insurance companies, because that's really what they're doing, is they're shopping your business to the insurance companies. And unfortunately, a lot of new business owners do not give enough time. What they'll do is they'll get a contract, and then they'll contact a broker 2 or 3 days before they need to start that contract. And that's really not enough time to shop and get a quality insurance product at a good price. You just end up paying too much money for that.
Good. Oh, I appreciate knowing that. I think Dewey's got a question for you, too.
Yes, I do. Brian, first of all, thank you for coming to the show and being on the show and enlightening our listeners regarding insurance for small businesses.
Thanks, Dewey.
I've got a question. When you quote a business an insurance quote, how does location and crime rates play a role? For example, if a business is in a high crime rate area, does that mean is there going to be a differential there regarding the insurance premium relative to a low crime rate, or do crime rates even matter when it comes to insuring businesses?
That's a great question. Thanks. That does matter. And especially if you own a business that is going to be selling products that are expensive, like TVs or some type of electronics. If you are running a business out of your home that is a consulting business or like a realtor or mortgage broker, that doesn't apply as much. So what the insurance companies look at is what is the risk and how likely are they going to be paying a claim in that high-risk area. So if you're doing business as a consultant, you really don't have a lot of risk, but if you're selling TVs, then you might be broken into.
So I could see that higher insurance premium would be, cost of increase in cost of doing business. So would that business be less competitive because of they would have to have higher prices, right, or lower profit margins?
That is correct. Insurance is a big factor. It should be considered in your statements, in your budgets, when you're planning your prices and your margins.
Okay. And why is it important for a small business to be insured?
Well, the first thing is we never know what's going to happen when we start a business, and the insurance companies are there to help us through those times when we have a flood or if there's a break-in. And as business owners, we put a lot of our own money, time at risk, and if the worst happens, then the insurance companies can help compensate us during that time and help us keep our business running smoothly with as little downtime as possible.
Okay, so given the situation of the Hurricane Sandy on the East Coast and all the damage that it has done. In fact, it's ranked second among all hurricanes relative to cost, $50 billion. Hurricane Katrina was $106 billion. So from a small business perspective, how would the insurance work for a natural disaster of that sort?
Oh, that's a great question. There is an insurance policy called a business owner's policy, and that has several parts to it, but two parts are important here. Number one is the property part, and that is all the stuff in the business, the computers, the equipment, the supplies, the inventory. That's property. And the second part is called casualty, and that covers loss of income during that time. So if the store is out of business for 5 days, then the insurance company can help compensate the business owner for the lost income during that time and also replace the inventory.
Hey, Brian, before the show, you mentioned to me a great visual about property insurance, something about turning the office upside down or something.
Yeah, so one way to figure out what property is to imagine taking your business and turning it upside down. Everything that falls out is what's considered property. Anything that's attached is really not property, except for the building. But yeah.
Very good. Okay, I liked that visual, so I thought it'd be good to explain the difference between the two.
So the shirt you're wearing, Dennis, is your personal property because it's attached.
It's not going to fall off, no. But all these donuts laying around you are.
Well, I hope so. Your shirt doesn't fall off.
Absolutely. Hey, one other thing, Brian, is that you're running your own business, right, as an insurance person?
Yep.
What do you have any tips for our listeners out there that might help them to promote their business? I mean, you insure it, but you want to keep making money so you can pay the insurance bill, right?
For me, the biggest thing that I do is networking. I go to chambers of commerce meetings, local networking meetings, trying to connect with other business owners. In fact, Dennis is a business owner, and so I connect with him just to meet here and do this type of thing. And so there's a lot of free resources out there, and you don't have to spend a lot of money, but it does cost time.
Very true. Very true. So what else, what other tips can you give us, give our listeners out there to help them know what kind of insurance that they might need depending on their business type? Or does a business owner need any additional kind of personal insurance or something too that a non-business person doesn't need? Or
the business owners, if they're as a business owner, you usually don't need insurance on a personal basis to cover the business. Just use the business insurance to do that. You can use your car if you want to. If you own your car as a business, you can insure it as a business. But the number one thing I would recommend is just to be organized with your documents, and when you're shopping for insurance, have those documents handy, because the broker will ask you for things like your EIN number, serial numbers on your equipment, your lease information on your building, and things like that. And that will really help you and your broker communicate and also respond. A lot of brokers now communicate via email and not very much fax. So if you can get your documents in your computer, that will help out as well.
Okay, good. Now, I know the broker that I used when I had that human tissue bank was really, at first I thought a broker, insurance broker, was more of just a salesperson that was working for the insurance company. But she seemed kind of like my friend that kind of helped me to get some good deals with different companies. Can you explain the role of a broker?
Sure. A broker is an independent representative. He doesn't represent one insurance company. And what he does is he contracts with a wholesaler, and the wholesaler can actually shop the individual insurance companies. And then the wholesaler will then return a quote to the broker, and the broker will help the business owner interpret which quote is has the best coverage for that business owner at the best price. And then they can set up payment terms with the insurance companies, or even sometimes if the premium is quite large, they can be financed by insurance finance companies.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. I didn't realize that part of it. So we had our broker actually got us a better price with another insurance company the second year. We actually had trouble finding one the first year, and then I guess during the course of the year we didn't realize that she was shopping around for us. And so it was kind of nice to feel that she was our friend, helping us save some money because the insurance company we had were going to raise their rates as a way of thanking us for being a customer for a year. So she found a good deal for us.
That's good.
So any last thoughts that you can think you'd like to share with our listeners? We're going to turn some time over to the 1 Minute Economist after that.
The last thing I would like to mention is I really liked what you said about documenting things. Having things documented in your business is really good. It shows that you're organized and a good business owner, and that helps to keep your rates low.
Very good. So you need to document things and know exactly what you're doing. Like we do at the radio show here. We now have a document with our phone number. If you have any questions, you can call at 747-777-6263. So now we're going to find out some economic indicators and how to know when it's going to be a happy day.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Well, welcome to the 1 Minute Economist, and we have some wacky, quirky economic indicators. Topping the list is the Consumer Consumption of Beer Index.
Our listeners are going to drink this one up.
That could be happy days for some, but we'll see. The concept is very simple. Won't be able to make it out to that beer bar after work, huh? Apparently, you're not alone. Consumers often try to save money by drinking at home, sending pub sales and jobs into a tizzy.
Ooh.
Here's something interesting I didn't know. In Europe, 73% of the jobs tied to the beer industry are outside breweries. These include jobs at bars and restaurants. From 2008 through 2010, employment in the beer industry fell 12% versus 2% for Europe as a whole. Well, is it a wonder why Europe's in trouble?
Yeah, they
are too high on the suds.
They're falling into the
drink.
here's
another one, Dennis. Google Trend Index.
Google.
Google's back.
Oops.
Yeah, that's about right. Anyway,
I thought it was a drum roll.
Well, it's rolling somewhere. Hundreds of millions of Google searches are conducted each day. Did you know that? Hundreds of millions of Google searches are conducted each day.
That's just mine.
You're probably one of them, too. So the search giant thought, why not aggregate it all and see if it tells us something. So here's the something. Bingo!
Wow.
That nearly 24 areas tracked, including unemployment, oscillated with the market.
Really?
So searches are definitely tied into the business cycle.
That's pretty interesting. So you can tell what's going to happen by what people are searching for.
That's right. So if people are searching for jobs, then clearly unemployment would be up.
Very true.
Okay, here's one for you single people. The first date indicator. Can you remember back to your first date, Dennis?
Oh, boy. That was back, I remember riding my dinosaur over to well, never mind. Yeah, it's been a while ago.
Well, you must have lived in Bedrock. Okay, here's the first date indicator. During flush times, women are more likely to get their hair cut, dyed, and simply groomed more frequently.
During good times?
Yeah, during flush times, good times.
Oh, flush times. Okay.
Well, flush times, good times.
I didn't
Roaring 20s.
I've heard flush in a different...
Okay. During recessions, they're more likely to take off extra inches to save on trips to those salons. So a few analysts have likened to the idea. However, according to Japan, they put out some data. They revealed that more women cut their hair shorter as the economy fell in 1997. So there you go. When women start cutting their hair short,
the economy's going down.
The economy's recess.
There you go.
Women let their hair out, more grooming, more salon, more dyes, then the economy is on the uptake.
You see shorter hair, it's getting ready to be time to buy a house because the prices are going to go down, right?
Well, now you're making things up. Okay.
All
right, so those are some quirky indicators. We had the first date indicator, we had the Google Trend indicator, and do you remember the first one we had?
The beer indicator.
That's right, the beer consumption indicator, which explains all of Europe's woes. But here's a real economic indicator. I got about a minute 30 seconds to put this by you, called the Consumer Price Index. What is it?
It is
That's right.
Index of Consumers Prices.
Oh, you are so good, Mr. Businessman. Anyway, the Consumer Price Index measures basically consumer inflation. It takes about 200 items in a market basket. It's called the CPU, which measures urban market baskets only, and that's because 80% of our population lives in urban. Rural people are not counted in this index. Also, Social Security tax, investments, and stocks and bond, and life insurance is not included. So what's the big deal about the Consumer Price Index? It's a measure of inflation for the average consumer and what it pays. And right now, inflation is right about 1.7, 1.9%, Dennis. So I would have to say inflation is relatively low. How do we know this? Our national goal for inflation is 3 to 5%.
Ooh.
So watch the CPI. It's a measure of individuals' cost of living. And I know some of the listeners have cost of living indexes known as CULA. And if you can get those, then those are supposed to shield you against the evil erosion of inflation on your purchasing power.
Excellent. Well, so the take-home message here is watch the consumer index. You'll know whether to cut your hair or have a beer.
Yes,
Is that right?
That's right. And also get your nails painted.
Very good. Hey, let's go to a break. Let's listen to some awesome public service announcements, and we'll be back.
For the California Dental Association, Christy Yamaguchi.
As an Olympian and daughter of a dentist, I know the importance of having healthy teeth and a bright, healthy smile. Tooth decay is the #1 childhood disease, more than asthma and obesity. That's why a new state law requires that kindergartners receive a dental checkup. So parents, prepare your children for school. Take your child to see a dentist. It'll make you smile too.
For more information, call 800-CDA-SMILE.
Do you suffer from the heartbreak of brain rot, feeling bored, sluggish, listless, not had a new idea in days? Using electronic gizmos without a clue why they work? Now there's help. Ham radio, guaranteed to stimulate your corroding neurons and open a whole new world of excitement. To learn more about ham radio, go to helloradio.org.
Side effects of ham radio usage include mental stimulation, desire for education, new career paths, understanding of technology, and cases of addiction have been reported. If you experience any of these symptoms, you're welcome.
Ham radio. It's not your granddaddy's radio anymore.
They were outnumbered, out-equipped. They had no chance of winning, but they had one huge advantage: General George Washington.
The fate of unborn millions will now depend, under God, on the courage and conduct of this army. We have to resolve to conquer or die.
Just as the leadership of one man helped form a nation, today leadership can transform the world. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
It's like FM without the commercials. It's like XM without the quality. It's AM 1620, the Eagle Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Saturday Morning CEO and Econo Man radio show. You're listening live, or maybe you're listening to an archive, but right now it's live, and we're going to share with you some topics about
tax breaks under fire, what you need to know, Dennis. In this election year, they're discussing, Congress is thinking about ways to increase its revenue to pay the deficit and the national debt. So I just want our listeners to know that, I'll ask you, Dennis, what's the #1 revenue source for the federal government?
I'm going to guess taxes.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
I mean, I
is
look
it
at
business taxes, capital gains tax? Is it income tax, a payroll tax?
That's interesting. I think about the government as a business, and where they're getting their money from. And I'm going to guess, since I'm looking at your paper here, it's the biggest portion is from individual income tax.
Wow, you are a good student. Thank you for stealing the answer key.
Sure, no problem.
Yes, 47.4% of the federal government revenue comes from individual income tax. The next largest component of revenue is 35.5%, which is from the social insurance, and that includes Social Security, Medicare, and railroad retirement taxes. The corporate income tax is a whopping 7.9%.
Wow, that's it? They keep talking about, trying to get more money in from the businesses, but that's the low end, isn't it?
Sure is, and that's one of the arguments that corporations need to be taxed more and shift a little bit of that burden to businesses. The next is 3.1% come from excise taxes. So every time you pump gasoline into your tank, you're paying a federal excise tax of 18.4 cents per gallon.
Ooh.
So one way to lower the price of gasoline is take away the tax. Okay, 1.3% custom duties and excise taxes. You probably wonder why imported wine's so expensive. Well, the government slaps a tax on it.
Oh, that's why everybody's whining.
And yes, they're whining, but they're happy. The estate and gift tax, wow, 0.3%. So in the U.S., if you're born in wealth, then you're probably going to stay in wealth. We have the lowest inheritance tax in the world. So, next Saturday you should be wearing your tux, right?
I think so.
Aren't you going to inherit some money here?
I'm going to inherit something.
And, of course...
I need to get adopted first by somebody that's...
So if you were to add up all these different areas, the individual income tax, the social insurance tax, corporate income tax, excise tax, custom duties tax, and estate gift tax, it adds up to a whopping $2.3 trillion revenue in fiscal year 2011.
But they spent more, right?
Yeah, about $1 trillion more. So that explains the $1 trillion deficit. But anyway, that's for another topic. But here's the point I want to drive home. There's about $953 billion, close to $1 trillion that the government is not taxing, and this is through the deductions. For example, the little-known secret is the health-related tax breaks, which most people don't realize it. But effective next year, I'm not a tax person, so that's my disclaimer. But the people can deduct medical expenses up to 10% of their adjusted gross income. So if you have somebody in a nursing home, then you can have some large expenses. So that is going to be a benefit. Another one is the mortgage interest deduction. I think we can all relate to that. That usually costs the government about $84 billion. And the idea is they want to stem back on that to help increase the revenue to pay down on the debt and deficit. Another big tax break that we get as taxpayers is the charitable donation deduction. Did you realize there's no other developed country on this planet that has the largest charitable contribution sector than the United States?
Is that right? So do they not give breaks for charitable contributions? Is that what you're saying, or we're just...
No, they give breaks to the $40 billion worth. So there's $40 billion that... are used as a deduction on tax returns. Again, the government wants to tap into that and limit the amount of charitable donations for deductions on your taxes.
I wonder if that just means people are going to give less?
Well, I would think so.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too good.
Because there's no incentive. And plus, but you're 100% altruistic. You're a charitable, benevolent guy.
Yep.
And even if they did take away your charitable deductions on your tax return, you'd still give, right?
I would still. I give 100% of my income to my wife, actually.
Well, that's awful big of you. So the government is looking to ways to increase its revenue. Of course, if the economy is in recovery mode, and the last thing you want to do is really increase taxes and cut government spending. So they're looking at ways to remove or limit deductions. However, I got a problem with that because deductions, especially interest rate deductions, part of your adjusted gross income, helps with tax refunds. And tax refunds, as you know, goes into the consumption component of our gross domestic product. So it depends on the path you want to take. You want to maintain the deductions and increase consumption. You want to take away the deductions and offer more revenue flow for the government so they can close the gap in the debt. Which would you choose?
Yeah, I'd say spend more money.
Well, that's always a safe answer.
For the consumers to be able to spend more money.
So you'd be for to maintain the tax deductions.
Yeah.
And not trim back.
I think so. I think the government, if you look at the government as a business, if I were the government's consultant, which they haven't called me yet, but if they called me to help look at their expense and revenue problem, I'm thinking their expense problem is the big issue.
Okay, so let's say, this is a plan that I would support. I say leave taxes alone. The economy is going to grow. There's going to be jobs created. The tax base will naturally widen, and you freeze government spending.
Right.
And as taxes begin to rise, and if government spending is flat, that spells surplus. The government will automatically generate money more than it spends.
Well, I think it's important to look at the numbers. If you've got more people working, then they've got money to spend, and then there's additional revenues that will come in.
But why is the federal government wanting to penalize, the workers, the taxpayers, by taking away their deductions? I don't get it.
I think they're just hungry and looking for ways to make money, and the only way they know is to take money. They don't earn it.
So then we would probably have to look on the government spending side and see where they can cut government spending. So rather than cut deductions, I'd say cut government spending.
That's right. And there's got to be some areas that can be cut. I mean, I think we talked before about the government grant that this guy, I think he got close to $1 million. I think it was $800,000 or $900,000 to study why the shower curtain tends to come up against your leg when you're in the shower, and he got a government grant for $800,000 or $900,000 for that thing. So I'm thinking there might have been a better way to spend that $800,000 or $900,000. You could have installed glass doors on all those tubs, and it wouldn't have been a problem.
Or maybe they could just not have a shower, just take a bath.
There you go. Yeah, there's lots. I'm sure there are lots of areas that the government could be cutting.
Well, also too, no one I don't think really wants to pay more taxes. I mean, I sure don't. I'm full with taxes. So, but the thing that bothers me is why is it that about 85% of the government's tax revenue comes from individual income tax payers and the payroll tax of 35.5%, yet corporate only pays 7.9%. Let's say 8%. So would you be for corporations paying more income tax?
Actually, no. And I'll tell you why.
That surprised me. You're a business guy.
And the reason is that corporations in the United States are being taxed almost double most of the other civilized countries out there. So we're
civilized or developed?
Developed.
What do you mean by civilized?
I don't know. It just sounded like a good word at the moment. Word of the day: civilized, developed countries. Most of them are almost half the tax rate that we're at. So if we were to increase corporate taxes, then we're going to lose more companies overseas. That's why we have a lot going overseas.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily agree with that 100%. I'll tell you why. Is because I think it's true with manufacturing, but not services. We're a service-oriented sector, Dennis.
Right.
We're not a manufacturing-oriented sector. Those jobs have gone overseas. They're going to stay overseas due to regulation issues, due to tax issues, due to offshoring money,
payroll, cheaper.
All that stuff.
Yep.
So
the government doesn't make any money off of service industries.
It doesn't?
Very, very little. They can't tax services. They've talked about it. There's been bills before, both state and federal. Different states have tried.
Well, I'm not necessarily talking about the service of tax. I'm talking about income tax that corporations have. So
okay.
After they have removed their operating expenses, administrative expenses, and then they have their income before tax. That income before tax is only about 8%. Do you think Chevron, who's probably getting close to historical records on their profits in billions of dollars, I got it. They're stockholders benefit. They're there for the stockholders. However, shouldn't the burden of the tax be spread out a little more evenly? 85% of the federal government tax revenue comes from workers, not corporate income tax.
Well, wouldn't those shareholders be paying tax on their increase also? That would be listed under the individual tax.
Well, that'd be under capital gains.
Oh, capital gains.
But,
Gotcha. What percentage of that was from capital gains?
That's not on here. The excise tax and custom duties tax, but no, it's not listed in terms of a
that's what I'm
primary government revenue.
I'm thinking that it might be.
Look at the data.
I'm thinking it could be mixed in with the individual for capital gains. It's probably in here somewhere.
So let's do full circle here, 360.
Sure.
You're against increasing the corporate income tax to, let's say, 10%.
I'm against increasing taxes at all for businesses or individuals or even.
So you're okay with the way the shares are now?
Yeah, I don't think we should increase at all until we have looked at spending. I think if we could get spending under control and we're still short, then I think people would be willing to pay a little bit more.
Well, maybe next week we can talk about the spending side.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But I bring this up because the government is looking for ways to increase this revenue, and it's going to be very difficult to increase taxes, especially in recovery mode. So the next best alternative would be to
start a business,
to have deductions,
right?
Take away or limit some of those, which in effect means less income for savings and consumption. So the standard of living could go down for some.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, taxes. If more money is going to the government, that's less money that's going into consumer purchasing.
And I don't think you can cut government spending enough to offset the amount of taxes that's going to not be realized.
No.
So
even if you raised it from 7 to 10% on corporate taxes, I don't think it's going to take care of the trillions that we're behind.
So I like my plan. Let's keep taxes the same and freeze government spending. What do you think?
I agree, and I think it's a good plan. And I think if you're in Washington, D.C. right now and you have any authority, can you give us a call right now on the line at 747-777-6263, and Dewey will give you his advice, and we'll implement it tomorrow.
I sure will.
All right, I appreciate
that. So maybe Timothy Geithner will call. He's the U.S. Secretary of Treasury. And who knows, Ben Bernanke may call. He's the Federal Reserve Chair.
Absolutely. We can get him on the phone maybe next week, huh? Oh, hey, we won't be here next week. I'm going to run in another 5K. Did you know that? I'm sorry to change the subject on you.
Well, why don't you pay another 5K in taxes and help us bring down that debt?
Oh, ouch. Well, speaking of running, we're running out of time a little bit because I'm going to give you the quirky business stuff here in a little bit. Are you about ready for
All
those?
right, the business crazies.
The crazy business stuff. You ready for that?
Well, I was born ready. Fire away.
The loony business ideas. The loony, the crazy, the wacko business ideas that are actually making money. So you may think they're crazy, but they're making dollars. And if you're not and wondering what to do, then realize that with the right...
Earthquake.
Are you okay? Did you fall on your microphone there? One is the murder scene cleanup. Did you know you can start a business to clean up a murder scene? And you can make a killing. How's that? Oh, come on. Somebody laugh. Yay. Thank you. You can get proper training and help out your local police department. Crime scene cleanup can range anywhere from $1,000 to as high as 6 figures for some of the tougher jobs.
Well, that's interesting. If you're going to go in that business, wonder what the insurance would be regarding something that may be questionable. Would it be a forensic science? Would you have to be licensed?
That's interesting.
Would you have to be sequestered to court?
Let's ask Brian. He's the insurance guy here. I'm guessing that would be outside the box. Murder scene cleanup.
Good idea. Take it away, Brian.
This is definitely outside the box. Again, this is a great opportunity to just show documentation, and you can even use other businesses as resources. And websites are a really good source for information for the insurance companies. And so if you have a website, make sure it gives good information or other resources. And this is definitely out of the box, so you want to give your broker some time to take care of that for you.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. All right. Hey, let's go on to another crazy business idea here. You could become a celebrity photo broker. So those... How's that?
Yes, under the guise of paparazzi.
It says spotting David Beckman or Kim Kardashian at the grocery store can mean much more than having a cool story to tell your friends. You can actually take a picture with them and give it to somebody who can farm it out to different media outlets. The photographer gets 60% of the sum that's paid, which according to the website meetthefamous.com can range anywhere from $10 to more than $100,000 depending on the celebrity.
Well,
and probably the photograph.
Yeah, I've seen some of this in the news. So A, you've got your personal liability insurance you're going to need. B, you're going to have your equipment insured because some of it's destroyed. If you don't believe me, ask Sean Penn. I think he's destroyed a few cameras.
That's right.
So, wow, high risk, right? You
high risk.
Get some
picture that.
big Federal Reserve notes, but wow.
It says that the website reports that recent photos of Tom Hanks sold for $280, while Justin Bieber snapshots snagged $650. So if you've got some celebrities around your area and want to shoot some pictures, you might make some money there.
So snap and go.
That's right. Here's another one. This company, an Alabama company, has created, the name of the business is Intelitar, a virtual eternity program which creates afterlife avatars. So before you die, you can digitally create each member of your family, and then later on you can preserve that and interact with them through, I guess, through the computer. I'm just reading the rest of this here. Their voice, their look, their personality can be created as an avatar. They will be a virtual clone so that even after they die, you can still talk to them and ask them questions. Intelitar's costs range from $5.95 per month for personal plans to $24.95 per month per virtual eternity plan.
Well, that's very creative. I wonder if they're going to be in direct competition with the mummification industry.
I don't know.
You've heard about people wanting to be mummified.
Yeah, that's that. If I hope the business does well, and
eternity and beyond. That's a long time. Eternity is like continuing with no end.
It is. Now, my question would be: if you chose the eternity plan and you died, who's going to pay that $24.95 a month?
That goes into perpetuity, forever and ever and ever.
Have your virtual avatar pay it? That would be interesting.
Well, maybe you have an unlimited credit on your credit card.
I see. That would work. Just leave it revolving. Revolving credit. That's
revolving
what it is.
credit. Very good. Your last will and testimony.
Yeah. Okay. Outsourced dating service is another. You just don't have time to search all of those dating websites. You can hire a professional to help do that for you.
If family wasn't enough in matchmaking, now you have to outsource.
That's right. Yeah, forget what the moms are saying. Hey, you need to marry this guy or gal. Dating assistance services range from $360 to $1,440. I wonder where they came out with that number. $1,450.
I think it's cheaper getting an avatar.
Yeah.
Here's my dating avatar. Where's your dating avatar?
Absolutely. You know what? We got 30 seconds left, but I got to talk about how about customized romance novels.
Back to the Harlequins.
Full spandex suits, covers your whole body. The Ancestor Detective, dog sledding business. I guess you probably ought to live somewhere where there's snow. That would help a lot. And my favorite, dryer vent cleaning. Our prices can range from $78 to more than $145. And that's our show today.
Hey, thank you for coming out for the Saturday Morning Radio Show.